Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Stephen Stanwood, who is the founder of Stanwood Law. Stephen, welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning, Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, you're so welcome. I'm looking forward to talking to you because I know you've got a unique approach to your business. Give us a little bit of background on yourself in the legal field, and then what is Stanwood Law's focus in the industry?
Absolutely. Well, I am a trademark lawyer, which means protecting brands and business names and logos and slogans and things like that. What's unique about me is that I'm a lawyer who helps other lawyers. My website actually lawyerhelpinglawyers.com. A lot of companies, especially smaller companies, already have a lawyer when they're starting up to get them, help with things like leases and employees and sort of other initial ramp up stuff. But then, further down the line, they can run into brand conflicts sometimes. And that's really where I come in, is to be that extra set of hands that can help out with either trying to get a trademark registered to protect your brand, or if you have some kind of brand conflict come up where there's another company using something similar to what you're doing, I can help out with that too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting because isn't it kind of, I forget the exact old saying, but it's like the Cobblers Kid that don't ever have shoes, or the plumber's house that their plumbing's always messed up. So maybe it takes that outside third party. You might think that, I took that class in law school, I'm good to go. But in reality, it's the difference between being a general practitioner and a podiatrist. If you've got a foot issue, go to the foot doctor. So if you need a specialized trademark help, don't rely on just what you think might work. So I love that lawyer helping lawyers approach.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect analogy. I mean, a lot of people talk about kind of having a primary care lawyer who's your first go-to, is your lawyer that and you've had forever. But then as, specific situations come up in employment or in trademark, what I do, or in real estate, a lot of times you need sort of this specialist who just does that thing all day, every day. And I think that's sort of where work is going too, the way that we can share and collaborate on the internet now. It's easier to find that specialist to bring in for just a project for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months, just to sort of get you on the road and fixed up.
Yeah, I really do agree with that shift in mentality in the business world. There's so many people that have broken out and gone into freelancing, and then they are available to be that specialist. So maybe if an attorney is listening to this and they're thinking, I need to do some marketing, well, you might be able to take that online course, but it might be better to have a specialist. Or I need to build a website. Well, you might be able to dabble at it, but it's going to look like that. And I think that's the big thing. So I know you're really passionate about creating content. What do you think is the biggest thing that attorneys and lawyers should be thinking about when they're creating their content, both from the trademark side of things and from the marketing content creation side of things?
Yeah, I think that lawyers, more so than they currently are, should be putting themselves out there and should be creating stuff. I think we kind of underestimate as a profession how much we know and how much you pick up just by going to law school and being out in the world and seeing different people's situations and how they come about and how they get resolved. We have just this huge, huge wealth of knowledge that we can put out there for the world to help other people. But I mean, it's a fairly conservative profession sometimes, and then people are sort of reluctant to put their face and their ideas out there. But I think that's something that's really changing with the younger generation of lawyers, and there's really a good energy around lawyers as content creators right now.
Yeah, and when you say content, I feel that sometimes anybody in any profession, but especially the legal profession, might feel that let's just stick with the tried and true and just do content the same old way. Speak a little bit about the different levels and layers and options in content. What would that look like, and then kind of where can you venture out into to really be seen well?
Sure. So I think it's really a matter of playing to your strengths. I mean, a lot of lawyers are great writers, and we've had great lawyers who are bloggers for a long time and have done a great job of that. But now the options are basically limitless. I mean, you think about marketing and you can take it in any direction. You could make videos on YouTube. You can be a really active, user on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm one of the very few lawyers who is on TikTok. That's sort of the new wave of things. It's basically just getting out there and seeing what's a good fit for you and not trying to create a one-size-fits-all approach to things where you're just sort of blasting out an advertisement for your website or whatever it is you do. You really want to be out there and listen to people and see what are the questions they're asking and how can I really make myself useful. You should be social on social media. You shouldn't just treat it as a billboard or another avenue to just sort of channel your same message into.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And my personal goal is to turn good potential social media contacts into a personal contact as soon as possible. So that might look like, a little bit of interaction back and forth, and then like, hey, let's jump on the phone and get to know each other. And I think that too many people in any industry, law or anything, they just feel like, click, clickety click, let me like this, share that, comment on that, and I'm doing marketing. And you're really not. You're just kind of interacting a teeny bit. But if you have that, that connection and you started opening up that dialogue on social media, boy, getting that relationship started on a personal contact, whether it's in person down the road or locally or just a phone call, I think that's really, really important.
That's so good. And it's hard work. It's like any relationships. I mean, for thousands of years, relationships have been hard and you get out of them what you put into them. And if you're investing in those relationships every day, you're going to get a lot back out of that. But if it's something, like you said, you're just dabbling in, you're liking a few posts and then disappearing for a few weeks until you feel like you have to get out there again. That's not something that's sustainable and really going to build you up.
Yeah. So when you work with a new client, what is typically the process, or what are they needing? What are you doing for them?
So there are a couple of big situations. Basically, if it's trademark or brand related at all, I'll talk to a client about whether it's something I can handle. But the two big buckets of what I do are, number one, a lawyer on behalf of their business client has applied to register a trademark. So they have a business name or logo or slogan or something that they want to protect. They've sent it off to the trademark office in Alexandria, Virginia. They're all excited because they're going to get that trademark registration. And then they get this long, sort of rambling letter back from the trademark office that says, we see all these issues with your application. We think there are other trademarks that are sort of a problem for you. Convince us that your trademark is something that should be registered. Yeah. So that's the first thing I do. I write responses to these long, sort of very technical letters to get people's trademarks across the finish line at the trademark office. And the second thing I do is when brand conflicts come up, they've used their trademark, they've used their name, they've used their slogan for weeks or months or years, and they love it. But somebody around the corner has opened up a shop with a logo that looks the same as theirs, or a name that looks the same as theirs, or a slogan that looks similar to theirs, and they don't know what to do. This is a general business lawyer. They don't necessarily know how to write a trademark infringement complaint or to go after somebody else's trademark and try to get it canceled. So that's where I sort of have the technical know-how to get into the nitty-gritty of it and be that extra set of hands to help guide them through the process.
And then so you're working in conjunction with the law firm who is then working with their business client then, right?
That's exactly right. I'm working in conjunction with kind of the lawyer you referred to as the primary care attorney every step of the way.
Yeah, that's a really unique setup. And we've mentioned, medical analogy, and it reminds me of like a construction analogy. Like you're the general contractor, but you got to get some subcontractors in to do the plumbing, but the general contractor is the one mainly in charge. So you're coming alongside those attorneys just to give that extra area of expertise so that they really deliver good work, but yet don't have to get slogged down in doing those items, because I would venture to say you would agree with this, that if they tried to do what you're doing, like these response letters, they'd spin their wheels and spend untold hours trying to figure out if they can even do it or how to do it or do it right, or reacclimating themselves to those things or see what's currently being done. And they could have just worked with you and been done with it and moved on. So the opportunity cost then kicks in of, trying to save a buck or two from outsourcing, for one of an expert like you, or just getting it done, delivering great results and moving on to the next item up on their agenda. Do you find that working with some of your clients too?
Exactly. I think that, if you want somebody to come in and fix your plumbing, you want somebody who does that kind of work all day, every day. You don't want somebody who's sort of in a similar situation to where you are to try to go out and try to learn it on their own and then do that work for you. The other thing that's really great is for the actual business whose brand is being protected, they don't feel like they have to go switch lawyers or anything like that. They have a lawyer who they've, known for a long time, and it's, stressful to find a lawyer and, work with the right lawyer in the first place. So it sort of takes out that extra friction of, feeling like they have to go to somebody else, and then they have two lawyers and they don't know who they go to what. They know, who the point of contact is the whole way along.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. So obviously, larger law firms would have a whole division or a team of attorneys that deal with very different areas like trademark law or whatever the case is. So you probably work with smaller or even solo law firms. Is that typically what you're finding the need is?
Exactly. Once a law firm gets to a certain size, if you're a business attorney there, you can walk down the hallway to somebody who's a trademark lawyer when this situation comes up, if you're a medium-sized firm or you're a larger-sized firm. But certainly solos and small firms, and even up to, fairly decent-sized firms with 5 or 10 or 15 attorneys, they might not always have somebody who's a specialist. So they sort of get that same ability to virtually walk down the hall and talk to somebody who just does trademark law all the time by talking to me.
Yeah, that's really good. Hey, from your working with these solo law firms, what do you feel and have seen that a successful solo law firm looks like?
That is a great question. I think that so much of it, one of the wonderful things about being a solo lawyer is that you get to define a lot of what success means for you and then work backwards from that. So you can set up your own expectations of how much money you want to make and how large you want the firm to grow and how much you want to work and what clients you want to work with, and then just sort of build your whole life around that. And I've seen a lot of attorneys who've done really, really creative things. Once you sort of shake off the sort of initial feeling that just says, to run a successful business, I just need to make it as large as possible, and I just need to sort of put my nose to the grindstone and do it all day, every day, and sort of try to scale forever. I think that there's room for a lot of creativity in how you define success and how you work towards that.
And the last example you just mentioned there almost feels like just a 9-to-5 job or an 80-hour-a-week job, and all of the cliche, working 100 hours a week. At what point then do you have a life, And I guess that's kind of where you're coming in to help with that.
Exactly. It's sort of sticking to what you know and what you want to work on. I think where people get in trouble is they try to spread themselves thin and they try to, do everything and learn everything and act like, they're experts in everything. And it's easier for everybody involved, and it's a lot more fun for everybody involved when we collaborate and we bring our skills all together.
Yeah. Have you ever worked with, because I can only envision that, an attorney might kind of be hesitant to go, I don't know, because I could probably do it myself, or I've done these before. And then when you come alongside and work with them, what is their response? When they when they come back to you and talk to you and say, that just kind of lifted up like an 800-pound burden off of my shoulders. I was able to just, crank out so much extra work while you were doing this. And then I then pick it up as like handing the baton off, and I come back and deliver it to the client, and I look like the rock star. And what is their reaction when they see a project delivered back to them that you have come alongside and worked with them on?
They're definitely grateful, and a lot of times they're surprised at how quickly I can turn things around just by virtue of having done similar things before. I mean, I've sort of been on the other side of it. I started out working for small firms, and I was doing a broad base of things. And when you get, a specific problem like a trademark problem, it can be intimidating to even start it, because you know that you're going to have this whole learning process you have to go into before you can even write whatever it is that needs to be written. And you really have, dozens and dozens of other things that you want to focus on and that you're probably more comfortable focusing on. So you might just sort of kick it down the road. And as soon as they offload it and they send it to me and they say, here's discreetly what I need, I have the latitude and I have the expertise to turn that around really quickly.
Yeah, and I think speed is really, really important. I think expertise is really, really important. And when you combine the two, I think that's something special. And I think that's something that then becomes a competitive advantage of yours. And another thing that I would wonder is a competitive advantage, and I'm looking at your website here where you talk about flat fee trademark documents. Tell me a little bit about that and if that is unique in the industry.
It is somewhat unique in the industry. I think that the industry has been moving more and more in that direction. There's obviously traditionally lawyers bill by the hour and they want all of their hours converted directly into whatever their hourly rate is. But I think the incentives for that are bad. I mean, it doesn't really encourage efficiency. It doesn't encourage building up systems. It doesn't really encourage bringing in expertise, because if everybody's going to get paid the same by the hour, why would you try to find a better, cheaper, faster, more efficient way to do things?
Yeah.
So what I do is I'll listen to what the trademark project is that they have. I'll quote them a price for it, and then we move forward from there. And with the expectations set up like that, I mean, billing's great. I finish the project and send a bill, and I get paid on time and without any hassle. So that's great.
So how detailed can the trademark work go? Is it just the responses to these types of documents, or do you ever get into a creative side or a planning side of things?
That's an interesting question. So far, I've been pretty lasered in on building really good systems around these various documents, but I think there definitely is an opening, and I know one of the things about being a trademark attorney is that you get to know a lot of other trademark attorneys, and a lot of trademark attorneys will do sort of those initial brand strategy phone calls or video chats or other things with people where they'll talk for half an hour about how to best protect their trademarks. So definitely, if anybody's looking for services like that, I'm happy to connect them with anybody out there.
Yeah, that becomes then kind of like a full circle because you probably could, because of your content creation, generate some interest from people where you say, this is now not my wheelhouse or area of expertise, but let me introduce you to, and then that becomes, maybe some of the attorneys you've worked side by side with, that's your tiny, small sphere of influence, and then that can come full circle. So I think that is another benefit of building that relationship and taking time enough to learn about the clients you work with, more than just, you need this document done, here you go, goodbye. You're developing relationships. And I think that tells a big benefit to working with you, right?
That's huge. It's one of the huge advantages of building sort of this super specific niche practice that I've built, is that I send those emails all the time that say, great to meet you. I think here's what you need, and I think here are a couple of great trademark resources for you, and I'm happy to connect you with a couple of people who do exactly what it is that will help you. And they do something a little different than what I do, and then it comes back around in the future, because when they need exactly what I do, I mean, I'm right there for them.
Yeah, that is just so important. So, hey, let's wrap up with any last tips that you would like to provide as far as what is one.
Sorry, Mike, you still there?
Not a red flag, but an opportunity flag.
Sorry, I don't know if I cut out there or you cut out there.
Oh, yeah. So what is like an opportunity flag that you would say that someone listening to this might say, you know what, I've been noticing this in my business or my practice. Maybe I need to reach out and connect with Stephen and see if that is something that he could help me with.
All right. I think that if you're a solo or a small firm lawyer, or you run a small business and you've been thinking about how to protect your brand for a while, or you've already filed that application, or you have one of these conflicts out there, if somebody else is using your brand and you haven't really known what to do about it, your lawyer hasn't necessarily known what to do about it, then that's something that we should talk about, because there are a lot of fairly easy things that you can do to protect that brand and to protect your good name.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Stephen. It was really neat to get to know you and your unique business model. I appreciate you coming on the show today. And can you tell us what's the best way that people can reach out and connect with you? I know you mentioned it at the beginning of the show. Let's wrap up with what's the best way that someone can reach out and connect with you.
Yeah, easy to remember. My website is lawyerhelpinglawyers.com. And once you're there, you can reach out to me in basically any way you want. Email, phone, all the options are there.
Excellent. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for your time today.
All right. I appreciate it, Mike. Take care.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.